Well, good morning, everybody. I'm going to do another morning devotional for this beautiful Monday morning. I decided to bring the show outside because it is an amazing morning here in Vero Beach, Florida. It's like 65 degrees, which for Floridians means bring out the jackets because it's a little chilly. But don't worry, I have my tea to keep me warm. This morning, I'm doing English breakfast with some honey in it. I love just these black teas with a little bit of natural sweetener in there. Just makes my morning so much better. I am curious what everybody else drinks in the morning. Is there any other tea drinkers out there? Darian told me yesterday I can't drink tea in the morning because it relaxes me. And I'm like, that's the point. Like, it's relaxing. Like it just gives me in this mind space where I can just like settle into my thoughts and relax a little bit. But then she said that just would put her back to sleep. So I guess I understand that. I am going to do another devotional, and I want to kind of stem it off of this key point, is that we can't give away love freely if we're really just looking for validation. So here's kind of what I mean by that point. I took a year off of Instagram, and 2020 was a terrible year to come back, I'm learning. Not just the coronavirus and people are home and bored and putting out ridiculous things, but we're also moving into an election season. And I'm already not a big fan of politicians. I understand that there's politicians out there that are awesome people. They're dedicated to our country. They love our country. They're passionate. They work hard. I recognize all of that. But especially whenever we move into this season, and you start hearing things from all sides, from all parties, from all people, all politicians, you realize they have a lot of moving parts, and they have an agenda to be elected. If that's the president to local government, they want to be elected. And every time I feel like they're talking to me, I'm also thinking, well, I know they're working all the angles, and I don't want to be one of those angles. Like, am I just an angle that they're working so that they can get my vote and then they'll move on? Now, politicians are easy targets, because if we're honest with ourselves, a lot of the times we can do the same thing, can't we? Like sometimes we compliment people just so we can endear them to us. Like, it's like if I compliment this person, maybe they'll think better of me, like that I'm a complimentary person. Or maybe one day they'll give me a compliment. Like it's like we do things for people, like we show up for people, but we have hidden motives. And this could be anywhere from like our friends to our families, to just random people. Like here's the thing, guys, you can't give love freely if you're just expecting something in return. It's not free then. It like contradicts the whole definition of what free is. And the reality is that we don't have to be stingy with our love. Like we don't have to treat it like currency, where it's like every time I get it, I have to spend it, and every time it's taken from me, I'm bankrupt. Like whenever we come to this realization, whenever we fully realize that God has given us this unending love, unending, like it captures everything, then it almost forces you, it causes you to want to give love more freely, like to give love more recklessly, to love more recklessly. I want to read a short passage of scripture this morning that just has been, it's one of those verses that you don't know it's there or that you need it until you need it. And then you read it and it's just like, this has been in my Bible this whole time. How has this not stood out to me before? So hopefully it has that same effect on you than it did to me this morning. It's from the book of Romans. Now, Romans is a hard book to read. It's one of Paul's letters. It's the longest letter that we have that Paul wrote, probably written later in his life. And Paul has a tendency to have like these major run-on sentences. Like he just talks and he adds a point and then he connects it back and then he adds 3 more points. And Romans feels like it's just one giant run-on sentence. So I encourage you, because it's hard to just drop in, I encourage you to go to other resources that are really good to understand the book. The Bible Project is a really good, they just make these short animated that are highly theological and smart videos, but they're really concise and they give you a good overview. So Bible Project looked up Romans. We're going to do the opposite of what I just said. We're going to drop into the middle of it. We're going to try to understand. But this verse, it really can stand on its own. Romans chapter 13. Verse 8, listen to this. He says, "Let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another. For whoever loves others has fulfilled the law." Like, just let it sit. Just let it marinate your heart for a second. Like, let no debt remain outstanding. Pay everybody back. Don't owe anybody anything. Like, that's just bad stewardship, except one thing. Like, there is one debt that you should always owe other people. Like, there is one thing that should keep you up at night because you know you owe it. Like, there's one thing that should motivate every decision and every spending transaction that you make. There's one debt, and it's the debt to love one another. And that debt you can never pay back. That debt should always be weighing on your heart. It should always be outstanding in your bank account to love one another. You are always required to love one another, and without strings attached. Like, let's make it a point to check our motivations ever so often. Like, let's check to make sure we are loving because we were once loved, because we want to love recklessly because God has shown us an unending love. And as we check our motivations, it's going to be a good reminder to us that God is crazy about His creation, about the people He has created. He is crazy about it. And He's using you to show His love to those people, no strings attached. God is using you to show His reckless love to other people. So show it. And don't expect anything. We won't be able to give away love freely if what we're really looking for is validation. We're looking for something from other people. So I hope that's encouraging to you. I would love to ask you a question, and then you can send me a direct message. I had some awesome responses from my devotional on Friday. Some people I never would have expected just opened their hearts to me, and I prayed with them. I prayed with them through text words, or I gave them a call and I prayed for them because I know they had a lot going on in their heart. And it was a hard question last week. This one is a little bit easier, but I still want to hear your responses. What can you do today to love someone freely without explanation? Or expectation. Sorry. Let me read it again. What can you do today to love someone freely without expectation? Like, what can you do? I had somebody yesterday who just delivered these little cards, a member from our church, and a little trinket on it. It said, "Here's a trinket to remind you that we miss you and we can't wait to be with you and we love you." And I'm like, they obviously weren't expecting anything back from me because they just randomly showed up at my house with it. But it reminded me that I am loved. How can you do that for somebody else today, this week, until we make it back away from quarantine? What can you do? So put those in the comments, what you do, what you plan to do. I would love to share those with other people and just give ideas. So love you guys. Enjoy your tea. Enjoy your morning, and we'll talk to you later.